Good evening, folks. So, I thought I would talk a little bit about being trans and my experience with it. It's not what my channel's about. Not that it's about anything in particular, but this is not my focus. But it is, part of my experience. Um, I had started transitioning in 2017, and let's see. I've been on testosterone for for that long, about June 2017. Um, I transitioned while I'm working a full-time government job. Um, I've had a variety of experiences, both positive and negative, about it. It is important to me. It's not all that who I am. Who I am. Who I am doesn't have to have anything to do with gender at all. Honestly, um, it's both important and it's not important to me. Uh, a lot of times, just I don't feel like I relate to gender at all, and then other times I feel like both. Um, I he, him, they, them. Never she, her. I have had children. I've carried two babies, and I feel connected to the mother aspect because it was a very big part of who I was. Um, and I've always been very feminine. There's no changing that, no matter what. But part of me deciding to transition was knowing that I didn't have to. Society tends to be very binary a lot of times, and um, I'm non-binary. I consider myself genderqueer, FTM, transmasculine. Genderqueer is what I prefer. Queer in general. It's just always resonated really well with me. Um, but it's just a label. I see, for me, and I only speak for myself. For me, finding that label and learning what everything meant, because I didn't have the vocabulary growing up. I didn't have the vocabulary until I was almost 40 to know what all this stuff was. I just wasn't exposed to it. Um, and now that I see the new generation being so much more open, in many ways, they talk about their mental health, and that was something that was taboo. You never did that when I was growing up. I mean, I'm sure there's some sections, in society where people can and where they are, but it wasn't the usual. But now I see it and I love it, and I see a lot of evolution in humans as a whole. And I know there's a lot of bullshit going on. I get that, but transitioning, it really it put all that shit, you know, baggage, all of that, kind of put it back out there for me to look at and work on myself, you know. And there's many things that do that, but I was always just seen as a pretty girl, and it was an interesting transition, socially, especially. And a lot of people still see me that way, you know, whatever. But it was an interesting and very real, because and I had always suspected a lot of friends, especially the guy friends that I had, were not really my friends. They were interested in me, and I do still get that. I still get that. Not that I think I'm all that, but some people do apparently. But I spent a lot of time not being seen my whole life, not being seen, and I'm not putting any blame out to anybody, not doing that, but doing this forces you to be seen, even if it's not always in the right way, but learning who a lot of my friends were, in a very upsetting way to me at the time. And whenever you go through any major change, whether you're transitioning your gender, or you're awakening, or something that brings you out there as, hey, this is who I am, you're going to find out who people are via your relationships, and find out some people they didn't have the right intentions, they weren't your friend. That doesn't mean they're bad people, they weren't for you, right? And I want genuine friendships, I want genuine people in my life, and this really it shook things up a lot. It shook things up with family, friends, everybody, and there was a lot of positive and there was a lot of negative. There was a lot of both, and I'll probably talk about it here and there, but like I said, it's not going to be my focus, but it is who I am. It's part of who I am, and I still think it's important to talk about sometimes because it's important to me, and I know it's important to others too. So there's that.